Welcome to the 61st episode of the Meeple Society, a podcast about board games hosted by two longtime role players turned avid board gamers. My name is Katie.
I'm Greg.
On this episode, we talk about some recent gameplays of... Okay, don't turn us off just yet, guys. Of Monopoly.
What?
Yeah, okay, let me go on. We talk about a long-awaited Kickstarter that has finally arrived, as well as two that, well, we're looking at. We continue with the recaps of our collection videos, continuing the Fs with episodes 27 and 28, and we discuss the ins, the outs, and the biggest surprises of each one. And finally, our deep dive of this episode take us into the deep, dark dungeons of Massive Darkness. Oh, okay, so as I said, don't turn us off yet, guys. We're going to start with Monopoly.
Yep.
We've been doing a lot of... Okay, so as you all are aware, we have the two collections. We've been talking about them for a lot of episodes now.
12 years.
Not quite, but okay. Anyway.
Okay, 11.
Oh, jeez. Anyway, so we have the two different collections, and part of the second collection is a lot of mass market games we would not normally play. As we've talked about, we've had a lot of surprises out of that collection. This next episode that we're going to be recording, actually later today, is all about Monopoly. Somehow we've amassed 20 different versions of Monopoly. So we've been playing a lot of Monopoly lately. And we put it off for as long as we could. However, we have to get this episode filmed, so we've been playing a lot of Monopoly lately. So we're going to kind of just go over a couple of our surprises from this. And we're not going to go on for long, I promise. All right, so first of all, Monopoly's history. One of the games we have was an anniversary edition. Really nice pieces. They actually went back to the wood pieces and the gold player pieces, wood hotels and houses. The dice were gorgeous. You know, whatever, as gorgeous as dice can be. Okay, that was a silly comment because we all know some of them are downright
ugly?
Well, yes, but they weren't your basic black and white. These were like a gorgeous color of blue, if I remember correctly. But anyway, regardless, I'm getting totally off topic here. Yes, you are.
It's Monopoly.
The history of Monopoly. As we all know, Monopoly has been around forever. The anniversary edition actually came with a book that described the history of how Parker Brothers ended up with Monopoly. Now, what I found interesting in this, and I'm gonna read this short little snippet. I found interesting that they left off as much as they did, but from their perspective, it didn't involve, what was her name? Maggie. It did not, from Parker Brothers' perspective, it did not include Elizabeth Maggie.
Mm-hmm. The one who originally made the concept.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So the original concept of Monopoly came from a game called the Landlord game, which was created back in like 1906. I'm looking real quick for a date and I'm not seeing it off the top of my head, it's not jumping at me off the page. 1904. There it is.
Okay.
It was originally created by Elizabeth Maggie to be she was a proponent of what's called a single tax format, and you could play the game the way it was written or with the single tax, and it was supposed to show the evils of charging rent and how that only wins for one player, how that only one player comes out on top in the end, and that was evil. Over the years, people saw it. It was 1904. I don't know that she ever had any kind of a patent on it or anything, but it was played and picked up by Charles Darrow according to the background I'm looking at on BGG, in 1933. He devised Monopoly based on an earlier game of the Landlord game. He filed for a patent in August of 1935. Well, that was when the patent was filed. Let's put it that way. When he first took this idea to Parker Brothers, right after the Great Depression, and this, now I'm coming out of the history book put out by Parker Brothers. When he took it to them, Parker Brothers turned it down in 1934 because how'd they put it? The game was turned down unanimously for violating some sacredly held principles. It was too long. The rules were too complicated, and it had no clear-cut finish, no clear-cut ending.
Okay.
I thought the ending was somebody went bankrupt or everybody went bankrupt. But it was too long. And I totally see that.
Yes.
Darrow didn't give up, though. He took the game to a friend of his who was a publisher, and they printed out a bunch, like 5,000 copies. He sold it to Wanamaker's of Philadelphia. Well, Parker Brothers got wind of this deal and just changed their mind.
Mm-hmm.
And by February of 1935, Parker Brothers was producing 20,000 copies of Monopoly a week.
Jeez. Already too many.
Right? So, and the end of not the end of the whole history of it. And I found the history actually really interesting to read through, and I'm not going to go into all of it right now. But Darrow died in 1967, the world's first millionaire game designer. I mean,
who said there's not money in
game
designing games?
Right? As much as everybody hates Monopoly or dislikes Monopoly, and I know people who love this game. Mm-hmm. I really do. I've got a friend at work who her son collects these. She came to me super thrilled because they found one at a garage sale of the Star Wars Episode 1 Star Wars copy.
Yeah.
She was super thrilled that they found a copy of this. I'm like, I didn't have the heart to tell her I'd already sold one once because we had two at one point. But okay. So I found the history interesting.
Yeah.
I also found it interesting that Parker Brothers never once mentioned the Landlord game.
No.
Because, again, from their perspective, it had nothing to do with it. So I get that.
I thought I had read someplace that she had actually gotten a patent on the game.
She might have. I don't know. Like I said, I remember reading a story a while back that
we had talked
Darrow
about that
had played it at her house, and that's how he got the idea and never credited her for it. And, of course, over the years that's come out. But when I went looking for that article, I couldn't find it.
Yeah, well, we talked about it on an earlier podcast when we were actually doing news and stuff. It was
had we?
Things that I had
Maybe
up.
that's where I remember hearing it. And that's when I read it. Okay. But anyway, I just thought that was interesting. So all of our plays of Monopoly, we've got 20 different boxes labeled Monopoly. Everything from Monopoly Deal to the Anniversary Edition. And a lot in between. We did have a surprise in there, which is shocking.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was a couple of them that was surprising, but one was surprising the most.
Yeah, we actually closed out one of them called Monopoly City. That by the time we finished, we both kind of agreed this is kind of your gamer's version of Monopoly. Mm-hmm. It was actually really interesting.
It actually had like a city building thing going on with it.
The whole center of the board was a city that you built up throughout the game.
Yeah, because they were zones.
Yeah, they were different zones based on your different properties.
Yeah, because once you bought a property, it didn't mean if you had all three of them. Nope. Once you had a property, it had a number on it, and now you could build buildings in that zone. Which was really cool, and that would up the rent for just that property.
Right.
If you had two of the three, you got to build a stadium.
You got to build a stadium in one of the two, and that gave you an extra $1 million every time you went around. Instead of $2 million, you got $3 million or 200, whatever. Instead of 200, you got 300.
Yeah, and then if you had all three, you could build a skyscraper.
Right.
And then there was the Monopoly building.
The Monopoly building doubled your rent on every property you owned.
Well, that was just a skyscraper alone.
That was a skyscraper.
The Monopoly also doubled all of your properties.
It doubled. If you had a Monopoly in one area, it doubled all of those properties. If you spent the money for the Monopoly skyscraper, it doubled all of your properties.
Yeah.
That's how you won the game.
So would double the
I don't know. Thank God I never landed on one. We never had to cross that question.
Because I did get that one built.
Yes, you did. But I mean, it was actually an interesting game.
Yes, it was. Like I said, that one we actually enjoyed.
Yeah, I did enjoy that one. I liked that in place of the railroads, it gave you places you could build either parks or wind farms or dumps. You had sewage plants.
You had sewage plants. You had water treatment facilities.
Yes. So you had
prisons.
Prisons. That was the other thing. Yes, penitentiaries. So you had either bad buildings you could put onto somebody else's zones so that it would reduce their amount of rent or something. Or no, it negated something. And now I don't remember what it was, but that's all right. or it had the parks and the green spaces that you could put in that would protect you from somebody putting the bad stuff into your zone.
You had the parks, you had the schools.
And windmill farms.
And the water towers.
And the water towers, that was the other thing.
And then there's the railroads.
Yeah.
That you got to put down. And then if you landed on a space with a railroad, you could just jump to another space that had a railroad on it.
Yes, because this one didn't have the railroad spaces. No. You rolled... So whenever you decided you were going to buy, whenever you decided you were going to build, there was a battery-operated buzzer in the middle of the table, or that kind of got passed around. There was really no place for it to sit, that you would press, and it would tell you whether you could build spots of 1, 2, or 3 squares or a railroad.
Yep.
And if you got the railroad, you built it for free.
Mm-hmm.
You could put it down anywhere on any property you owned on the board, and it allowed you to jump between properties if you landed on it. So I thought that was kind of unique.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fast way to get around the board, a quick way to avoid your opponent's properties if they owned one whole side, things like that. Of course, you had to land directly on it to use it, but it was a way to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked that. So that was a good one.
Yeah.
We had a couple of duds, like Fortnite.
Fortnite was ridiculous.
Fortnite.
There was no money.
No, you bargained for health points instead of money. You were only allowed to have 15 health points max.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I assumed it was going to be a quick game because everything I could see was taking them away. There were storm cards. Every time you passed go, you had to put a storm card out that would do different things.
When you landed on a property, you got the property. You didn't have to buy it.
Yes,
you got
the property was free.
And then when somebody else landed on that property, then they're going to lose a health point, depending on however many.
Any 1 to 4 health points, depending on what is marked on the board.
You're at. Yep.
So it was weird, but there were so many ways to gain health points back. We were literally just volleying back and forth.
Yeah, go, you got it.
If you owned both of one color and you landed on one of them, you got 2 health points back. There was a dice roll that gave you 2 health points back.
Yeah, because it had its own little separate dice roll.
Yeah.
It had 2 dice. One dice is how far you're moving. The other dice was a special thing going on, whether it was to put up a wall, which was ridiculous.
The walls just made somebody stop, and then the wall went away.
At a point from where you're at behind you someplace. Yeah. So you could make them stop right on your property to have to pay for
it, or to lose points, or to pay taxes, whatever. There was a few things.
The Band-Aid that gave you 2 health back.
Yeah. There was a campfire that gave you health point back.
There was a target if you were in line of sight of another player, meaning if you were in the same side of the board, you could hit them for X amount of hit points. And if you're like in a corner space, now you have 2 line of sights, so anybody in there you could hit.
Which we were always rolling target. We were always on opposite sides of the board because this one doesn't make everybody start on go. You can start anywhere you want.
Yeah.
So it spread everybody out, which was it was different. It gave you first opportunity to some of the stuff instead of following somebody. Made it easier for that person last in play order to get property still. It's okay. I don't know. It was... We gave up on it after about 45 minutes because we decided it was going nowhere.
Yeah, because we kept regaining our health points.
Yeah.
And there was no properties left to get.
Right.
Yeah, so we just said,
we were done.
So,
okay, all in all, one last thing. The last one I'm going to mention, beyond that, you're going to have to tune into episode 50.
Yep.
So, of the Playing Through Our Collection, not of this, because we didn't talk about this 11 episodes ago. The last one I want to mention is a fan-made expansion.
Yeah.
That I came across at Goodwill at one point, and I thought, well, this is interesting. It's called Super Add-ons. So we broke that out with the base game. It only really works with the base game, I think. I mean, I guess you could make it work with really any of them.
Did we have it in the base game, or did we put it in the Super Monopoly
No, we put
board?
it on the regular base game.
Did we?
We didn't put it on the Mega.
Okay.
Because, we have a Mega version, too, that has like 13 properties on each side of the board instead of 10.
Well, it also has the speed dice, too.
It has the speed dice, which the base version we own has the speed dice.
Yeah.
What a difference.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, I would never play another Monopoly game without that. Not that I'm going to play anytime soon anyway, but I'm Monopolied out at this point.
Yep.
But this expansion, it has a separate board that goes into the middle of your board, and then you just set your chance and your community chest cards off to the side. Or no, they had spots on that board for those, along with 2 other decks of cards.
Yeah.
So you had now 4 decks in the middle of the board and a whole nother set, but every time you got to essentially where the railroads are, if you landed there by a certain count, you went up to the inner board.
Yeah, it was like on the Pennsylvania Railroad. It wasn't on all 4 of them.
No, 2 of them you went up and 2 of them you came back down or something like that. It
was the same one.
Was
there
it?
was one on, I think it's the B&O.
It was the
and
2
one on the Pennsylvania.
Yes. It was the one right before go.
And the one
then
right
the
after
one right after jail.
Yeah. So if you're coming down the side heading towards go and you roll an odd, you continue on past. If your dice roll would allow you to go past, you continue past. If it's even, you turn up the elevator.
Up the elevator to the inner circle.
The inner circle, yep.
Yeah, it was actually kind of interesting.
Yep, and there were spots up there. 90% of the time when we got up there, we landed on that spot that would reverse our direction. So some of the times we ended up going right back down the elevator because we had an even number. And
right back down we go, yeah. It was interesting. It was new properties.
Yes.
The production quality wasn't great.
No, it was a fan-made.
It was a fan-made expansion, but it still added a lot to the game, and I really enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. It was actually a lot of fun. But there were betting areas where you rolled the dice and you got so much money based on what was rolled, and everybody could join in on it. It was a lottery space it was interesting. And again, we'll talk more about it. We'll show them on the episode 50. So. Again, if that's something you want to hear more about, great. Tune into episode 50 of Playing Through Our Collection. Otherwise, let's move on.
Let's move on to Kickstarters.
Yes.
So let's talk about the one that finally came in.
Yay! I'm so
game.
excited. We've been talking about this for the last 2 episodes, I think. 2 or 3 episodes now.
Yep.
Of Colab. Colab is one that I backed probably 2 years ago. It looked really interesting. And I this is another one I didn't tell Greg about, I don't think, until after I backed it. But, that was a long time ago.
I didn't know it until you was constantly saying, I haven't heard anything from Colab. I was like, what is Colab?
Oh, well. Anyway, so Colab is, let me get real quick to the page just so I can get the proper description of it out. The brief description of this one is the dawn of a new age approaches and we stand at the precipice. Ugh, anyway, it's a big word. The unbridled power of nature awakens something within. Mysteries demand to be explored, and the results are not always what we expect. Creepy creatures, dangerous devices, precarious potions. Colaboratory Incorporated provides a shared laboratory space that is the perfect home for you and your outlandish creations. So
it's kind of like a Frankenstein.
It kind of is.
Because you're building monsters.
You are. Everybody has 3 creatures that hold their dice. So it is a dice placement at heart. The dice are rolled. So, every round you get so many dice. And once you've used a die, it goes into a kind of a reservoir to be re-rolled when you have to. You basically reset yourself. You take a turn and kind of reset and roll all your dice again.
Yeah.
So you have your main scientist, which moves around the board. But before you activate your main scientist on one of the 6 laboratories, and mind you, these laboratories are all, it's a modular board, so they change up. Everything on this board changes every time you play it.
Yeah.
There are the 6 laboratories that move around. There are the arms
towers
that hold it in place, the towers, the spires, whatever you want to call them, the spokes of the wheel, however you want to look at it. There are 6 of those that change. There are little pieces that go into them that give you your extra bonuses. Those flip over and move. So every time you set this board up, it's going to be totally different. On top of that, on top of each laboratory, there is a total of 9 improvements that are going to be added. 6 improvements. 6 improvements. 3 level 1, 2 level 2, and a level 3 that are added throughout the game. And again, you add them wherever you want. It's all modular. Mm-hmm. So each round, you are starting with your little guys, and you're putting one of your dice into it, and you're putting them onto one of the spires or the spokes. I'd have to look exactly
towers.
What they call it. The towers. Is that what they actually call them as towers?
It's the towers. Because if you look at it, it is a tower.
Okay, yeah, that's true. All right, so you put it onto one of the towers, and you can hold 3, I think, on each tower. And every turn, you have 3 of them. You must have 2 on the board at all times. So every turn, you're either putting one on or taking one off. That's it. If you put one on last turn, you're taking one off this turn. So they're constantly moving around the board. Now the key is wherever your scientist goes, gets access to the abilities that the dice that those guys are holding, not only from yours, but from everybody else's through the entire game. So it's really interesting in how that plays out throughout the game. You get the power that those minions are offering, even if they're not yours. So this is something we're probably going to do a deep dive on later, so I don't want to go into it too extensively. So we'll leave it at that. It's just, we did an unboxing on it. The pieces are gorgeous. I really want to do a playthrough on it, and we will do a deep dive on it. We kind of got into Monopoly, so we did not have time to play this one out as much as we wanted to just yet. No. So, but anyway, we'll come back to this one.
Okay, so we have gone to where we're each looking at certain Kickstarters that we've been thinking about backing. This
is going to end up being a very expensive segment. I'm telling you that now.
Right. This way, though, there's no surprises later down the road. It's like, when did you back this game? This is my whole point behind this.
I'm only going to want to back a game every 2 weeks now.
Well, I'm sorry. You'll have to restrain yourself. Anyway, so the one I want to talk about is Jakarta Traffic. This is exactly what it sounds like. You are a delivery person on a moped riding through downtown Jakarta trying to get your package to the delivery point. So it's a pickup and delivery. Right. What I think is so cool about this whole game is it's a modular board. So all the streets will be in different places every time you play it.
I would think if it's based on Jakarta, okay.
It's going to simulate the traffic jams.
Oh, okay.
So, but this one there's a little hole in the middle of the street tiles, and on one of your turns, you can actually pick it up and rotate it, or you can pick it up. I remember seeing that. Or you can pick it up and replace it with one that's in front of you to really like block off your opponents from getting to theirs, or help you get to yours a little faster. Because every turn you're going to do something with the tile, and you're going to move your moped. So once you've done something with your tile, you put this little blocker tile on. Nobody can touch that for this round. Whoever gets the most at the end of the game, I don't remember, not sure exactly how many rounds there are, but it plays up to one to four players. But it's basically a race game is what they're saying. Pick up delivery with racing in it. But it's whoever at the end of the game has the most points, because you're going to get points from the deliveries. Your player boards are little cell phones. And at some point you have to charge your cell phone when you get to certain places so you can keep communications up. You put your points that you're getting on your little cell phone, and the person that has the most points at the end of the game wins. It just really looked cool. This came up on my Facebook once, and I happened to click on it and looked at it, and now it's just, I'm getting it. Well, I'm seeing it on Facebook like crazy. I see it on Instagram now, and I've been seeing it on the X and on TikTok, and I'm like going, holy cow, it's all over. But there's only 3 videos on YouTube about it. 2 short videos from the designer, and then one that's in Malaysian, I guess.
Yes,
is the language
something like that. I don't know, but
so I couldn't follow that. And I did watch a couple of videos from the designer about some of the mechanisms and what's in the box and everything. It still looks really cool.
It does, and it's only 35 euros.
Yes, 35 euros. There are a few
stretch goals.
Interesting. So yeah, so I'm like going $35. It's a pickup and delivery. I've gotten really started liking a lot of the pickup and delivery games. So I mean, $35 is worth backing it to find out exactly what it's doing.
Yeah. No, I think this would be a good one to back. Mm-hmm. It's a lot less expensive than the one I picked.
Yes, it is. I mean, we could get 6 games for $119, you know.
We don't need
That's
6
the retail
games.
pledge, though.
Yes,
so, but
no,
yeah, so there's only 2 pledge levels. It's the retail pledge, where you get 6 of them for $119, or about $36 for the base game.
Crowdfunding campaigns that do that. Make it nice and simple.
Yep.
I do like that. So, okay.
Yeah, because you get the one copy and all the applicable stretch goals. Yeah. And they've only opened one, because their goal on this one was $10,858, which is a weird goal number.
They've got
16,000 now.
They've got 16. Okay, so only one's open, just the night mode.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of these other ones that are stretch goals that could come out looks really cool, because there's more modules.
Oh, there's dual layered phones.
Yeah. This one comes with another module that you can use.
Street cats.
Yeah. But it's got all these different modules you can use that I think are actually part of the, it's 5x5 modular board, replayability, 5 modules that can be added to the base game.
Okay.
So.
Well, it's got 9 days left.
Mm-hmm.
And.
It comes with a soundtrack.
Oh, goodness.
Is it going to be a bunch of honking?
Probably.
But yeah, some of the components look really cool. I mean, it's all wooden components.
Okay.
I love the player board, though. It's a freaking cell phone.
I like the cell phone, yeah.
And see, if you look at the cell phone, there's the little lightning bolts on the side. That's how much energy you have.
That's what your battery's at,
things, so you have to go and charge it. There's the little speak bubbles and everything. You get points for every speak bubble you got because you're talking to the other players. It's just really cool.
Yeah, it looks really interesting.
I mean, I think there's like a night mode. Yeah,
that's the night mode is
that's the stretch goal that it has come through. So there's going to be night mode. So all the tiles are going to have a darker color to it.
Okay.
And the rest of it are all upgrades. I'm hoping. I would love it if they got to the 22,000 because that way you got the double layer.
I saw that. That's what I want. Come on, guys, you got to help us out here.
And a lot of Kickstarters I've seen that if they didn't get all of them open, they just do them as add-ons. Like, you'd have to pay for it, but it would be add-ons.
I would be okay with that.
Yeah, so would I. I mean, because there's even driver skills. There would be the new module, Street Cats.
I just said that.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't listen to me, guys.
No.
Whatever.
But yeah,
anyway.
So it looks really good. I was surprised. I was like, I'd never heard it. I think this is a first-time designer, first-time
looks like it was coming out of
publisher
Germany.
because he's self-publishing it.
Okay. Well, and he's made his goal. It's only like 345 backers, so it's not a huge amount.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, well, we'll see. I think it looks interesting.
Okay, so that
might be worth it.
That's Jakarta Traffic. It looks really cool.
All right. Well, the one that I came across, because, he made me go searching Kickstarter for this segment.
This is the one I was kind of trying to keep from you, too, because I knew the minute you seen it, you would want it.
And I do. Like I said, this is going to be an expensive endeavor. Anyway. All right. So the one that I'm looking at is River Valley Glassworks. This is anthropomorphic animals searching the river for glass, for river glass. This is kind of like a set collecting of sorts. You're wanting sets of the same type as well as sets of different. So there's a total of 8 different colors in the game, all in different shapes. The shapes only matter when you're trying to decide what ones you're taking out of the river, because you have to put down a specific shape in order to access the riverbed next to that. But you're leaving that shape, you're leaving that color down for somebody else to grab later on out of the river. So you're putting stones in the river to take stuff out of the river, thus leaving stuff for other players that they may or may not need. There's ways to get excess. So you're putting stuff into your excess pile, and that's negative points at the end of the game, kind of like with a Zool. If you have too many, they break and they're negative points at the end of the game. Same concept here, I think. But you're trying to get sets of 7 different colors as well as multiple sets of the same color on your player board. And then there's different ways that the victory points add up depending on how far across you get, how far up you get in each row and column. The game ends when one player has so many stones on their board, so many pieces of glass on their board.
Yeah, I think it's like 13 or something like that.
17, I think.
Yeah,
I think
you're right, 17.
So, and the pledge levels on this one are okay. So the retail is $39. Not horrible.
You're going to just get a retail version.
Okay. Yeah, no, I don't want the retail version. The next one up is $69. That's for the deluxe. You get acrylic river tiles. You get the playmat. Instead of just pieces that fit together, you actually get a nice playmat, and then the river is made out of acrylic tiles that lay on top of the placemat, or the playmat, I should say. You get dual layer player boards. I love me some dual layer player boards. You get the screen printed meeples, whatever. I don't really care about screen printed meeples. I don't care about the foil box cover, whatever. However, the final version out there is $89. This is the founder's version. This is the version I'm trying very hard to talk myself out of because it comes with real glass pieces. The river glass is actually river glass.
Well, it comes with that custom sleeve too.
I don't care
for the
about a box sleeve.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
In my mind, the only benefit of a box sleeve is to keep the box closed if you're storing it vertically. Mm-hmm. Now, we do store our boxes vertically. Okay, fine. But, and yes, okay, fine. Whatever. I'll take the sleeve. But that's not going to make my decision. That has no bearing on my decision. It's those glass pieces that I want. So we'll see. Anyway, this one has, how much time does this guy have left with it? It still has 11 days to go. So now I have to decide between, I'm not going to do retail because I want the dual layer player boards. Okay, fine. Now I have to decide between deluxe or if it's worth an extra $20 for the real glass pieces. So yeah, what should I do, guys? I don't know, but we'll see.
My bet she's doing the $89 one.
Yeah. Well, and this one even gives you the option to add in one of the small box all play games.
Yeah, and we thought about getting that too.
We did. That adds another $25 to it, though.
No, that's only on the $86 one.
That's on all of them.
That's on all of them?
Every option
I didn't see
has
that on every one of them.
Every option has the well, it's yes.
It's the $89 one that says plus lure.
Right. If you scroll up to the retail and then scroll down just a little bit, it says $56 for the retail plus lure. And then on the deluxe, it's $86 for the deluxe version plus lure.
Oh, okay.
So you can get lure on any of the options. So they're really pushing lure. I'd have to check more into lure to see if it's worth the extra $20, but we'll see. But yeah, this is the one I'm looking at, and we'll see what happens. Okay, I got 11 days to make my decision.
Yeah, so you'd have to get to the deluxe, right? $69 if you don't want the
founder, the real glass. I'm curious what the stones are in just the deluxe version. Are they a nice acrylic? What are they? You know what I mean? Are they still nice? I'm assuming they are. They look gorgeous in every video we've seen. I don't know. I'm going to do some more research.
It shows you what they look like.
I see drawings of it. I don't see the actual pictures.
I guess those are kind of drawings.
It's just drawings.
Of them, aren't they?
Yeah. So, I don't know. We'll see. But I'm curious.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's mine.
Yep.
Like
Yours
I said,
is going to cost us a lot of money.
This is your idea. I would have never looked for this if you had not said something.
Whatever.
Anyway.
At least I know it, though.
Yeah. All right. Ins and outs. This episode, we are covering Playing Through Our Collection, episode 27 and 28. All right. So episode 27, we played a total of 21 games. No go-backs, all Fs. Games we played. Fields of Arl. Interesting two-player Uwe Rosenberg game. Mm-hmm. Although now that's got a third-player expansion, which we do have. Never played it, though.
Yes, we have.
Well, we've never played it 3-player, though.
No, but we've added
played
the expansion
stuff. Yes. Okay. Fiki Football Extreme. Essentially paper football. 5 Crowns. 5-Fingered Severance. Flinch. Flip-Tac-Toe. Flock. Floor Plan. Flotilla. Flux. Flux Pirate. Food Fight card game. Not as interesting as it sounds. Forbidden Desert, Forbidden Island, and Forbidden Sky. Freedom Underground Railroad. Fresco, which is a game about painting the ceiling of the 16th chapel. Full Count Baseball. Funkoverse Pop, Harry Potter. Fuse, which is a real-time game about defusing bombs. And finally, Foundations of Rome. Why is that one so far out of alphabetical order? All these are in alphabetical order except that one.
I don't know.
Interesting. I don't know how that happened. Anyway. All right. So, our ins and outs on this one. Now, all right, if any of you guys if you guys have followed us whatsoever, you know Greg's obsession with Foundations of Rome. Needless to say, this one was Stain.
I wouldn't call it an obsession.
Okay.
It just came about because I missed the opportunity to actually get the entire game for free.
Yes.
The Kickstarter all-in pledge for free.
Yes. At the Dice Tower Retreat.
And I came home with Space Station Phoenix because it's another game I really wanted. And whenever they do that, the gift exchange at the Dice Tower Retreat, we were never at the top of the list.
No, we were always midway.
So all the big games that we've always looked at, we'd love to get that, and it would never be there.
Yeah.
I was called second that year and not thinking.
Walked right on by it. Picked up Space Station Phoenix because it was my main thing. Who was it? It was me and Jeff and somebody else were sitting there because we were in the middle of a game.
I think Adil was there, maybe.
Maybe it was Adil. And all three of us were sitting there going, you walked by Foundations of Rome? It was funny. So now, of course, it was gone by the time I got called and got up there. So, that was so funny. But we found it at Dice Tower West 6 months later and paid way more money for it than we could have. But that's okay.
Well, $1 would be way more money than we could have. Because I could have gotten it for free.
So, it's an interesting... I don't want to say tile lane because it essentially it is. It's an interesting polyomino type of game. However, I think it has its roots in Acquire, where you are purchasing property.
Purchasing the card.
You're purchasing the land.
So, right.
You're purchasing the card that represents the space of land on the board. Whereas in Acquire, you get it for free. You just draw it out of a bag or whatever. But here you're actually purchasing the cards out of a tableau.
And then marking it as yours.
Until
you actually build on it.
And you're strategically trying to buy other pieces that are near you so that you can put your buildings into that place. Again, that's where the tile lane comes in because essentially that's what they are. They're tiles, but these are gorgeous 3D building representations of the tiles.
This is the game everybody said was way
and it was
overproduced.
Yeah, I 100% agree it was overproduced. However, that overproduction makes it a blast to play. It just makes it neat to play.
And games like this, everybody's like, there's no game there. It's just way over the top.
And we thought the same thing.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Until we played it, and then we were shocked. My first thought was, this could be a 2-player version of Acquire, which we both enjoy and can't play it because it's a 3+ game. Granted, we did play it at 2-player. It just wasn't as good. So that's one of the reasons we wanted is it gave us that Acquire feeling at a 2-player version. Yeah. So, but anyway.
And this plays up to 5?
It plays up to 5. I want to say it's up to 5.
There's an expansion for 5.
Yeah, I think so. So anyway, that was our in. We knew as soon as we got it, it was not going anywhere. No. So, done. The game that left the collection, the one that was it was out, was the Funkoverse Harry Potter version.
This was such a big splash at Gen Con when it came out.
And we played it at Gen Con, and I don't know why, because the way they released these games, you had to play it. You had to go to their room and demo it before you bought it. Yes. Which I thought was bold. Yeah. To make you sit down and schedule a playthrough before they would even let you purchase the game.
You went to their booth, you got a ticket, and then they told you what room it was in. You would go to the room, give them the ticket. That was the only way into the room, is if you had a ticket.
Now, that being said, I wish they'd done that with Lorcana this last year. But anyway, regardless, Funkoverse did this with this Pops game. We ended up getting the Harry Potter version. Friends of ours wanted other versions, so that's why we went. Once you played the game, you could buy as many versions as you wanted. So that's why we went and did it. So we ended up buying Harry Potter for ourselves. It's a head-to-head battle game. Neither one of us liked it. No. I didn't even care for it in the playthrough. Yeah. We did. But for whatever reason, we bought it anyway. If I had it to do over again, I never would have bought the thing in the first place. Yeah. I'm trying to remember if we just moved this to the other room or did we flat out get rid of this?
I don't know.
I'm consulting the book, guys.
Yes, we can hear it.
We sold it. Yeah, we ended up selling this one. It just was not, and I don't remember what our reasoning was. I'd have to go back and listen to the episode. But I think...
Neither one of us liked it.
No, we didn't.
I think I kind of enjoyed it. The initial playthrough when we went to go buy it. I was like, okay, this is kind of neat.
I think it was novel.
Yeah. But we were playing it as a 3-player game.
We were doing a 3-player game.
It's just the two of us. We don't really like the big head-to-head games. There's a few games that we have that are head-to-head that we enjoy.
Yeah. This was just not one of them, though.
Right.
It did have a unique cooldown track, and I thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Where when you used a power, you had to put a token onto this cooldown track, and you had so many turns had to go by before you could use that power again.
Yes.
Okay, I liked that. Anyway, this one left the collection. It just wasn't for us.
No.
All right, this episode, we really had no surprise.
No.
Every game going in, we knew what it was. Either it was good or bad, and we expected that. There was no real surprise on this one.
Mm-hmm.
There was a disappointment.
Big disappointment.
Yeah. Okay, so our disappointment on this one was Forbidden Sky. We have the rest of the collection. We have Forbidden Desert. We have Forbidden Island. Forbidden Island was actually one of the first co-ops we ever bought. It's essentially an easier version of Pandemic. Mm-hmm. Although we don't win it very often. But anyway, we kind of expected something similar out of Forbidden Sky, and I felt like that one was just too punishing. Mm-hmm. So no matter what we did, we've never won Forbidden Sky, ever. We've never even come close. It was not what we were expecting.
I think the first time we did it, we played it, we didn't realize we had to loop.
Yeah, I don't think we realized. And we missed it in the rules. It's in the rules. No, it's in the rules. We just missed it.
We just missed it. Okay.
That you had to be able to loop your stuff, and we did not loop. So, therefore, there was no blast off.
Nope.
So, the idea with Forbidden Sky is there is an electrical current. Of course, with the 3 in the series, Forbidden Island, you're on an island. You take off on the...
Chopper.
Is it a chopper? The chopper crashes in the desert. That is Forbidden Desert. And you are putting together the pieces for this
flying ship machine.
Flying ship thing, yeah, whatever, that takes you up into Forbidden Sky. And Forbidden Sky, you're trying to get onto a rocket to
go into space. You're
trying to launch this rocket off to get off of this platform in the sky that is susceptible to lightning bolts and wind and all the things you would expect high up in the atmosphere.
And now there's Forbidden Jungle.
Right.
And if I'm not mistaken, it's a jungle on another planet.
Is that what it is? I would think so, with the creatures you're encountering, which we have not gotten to play yet. We almost bought it at Gen Con and we didn't. I still want to play it at least once, even if we don't buy it. I don't know.
Well, we got the retreat coming up.
We do. So anyway, Forbidden Sky, that was our big disappointment. Not so much as we played it for this episode. This episode just kind of cemented the fact that we really did not like this one, and we ended up getting rid of it.
Yeah.
So, all right, that is episode 27. Episode 28. This is going to be a quick one, guys. Episode 28 was... We had enough games after coming back from Dice Tower West that year. This one came out probably about a year ago. Mm-hmm. It was last March.
Yeah.
So we decided to do just a completely separate episode rather than have half of our opening episode of the G's be going backwards. So we just did its own episode. Episode 28 had 6 games played. 5-Minute Dungeon, Agents of Smersh, Atiwa, Bad Company, 11, and Escape Plan. All of these were bought either at Dice Tower West. We bought more than that at Dice Tower West. These were the only 6 that made us go backwards.
Right.
Or they were bought en route to or from Dice Tower West.
Yes. At
various stores. So the games that stayed, well, quite frankly, all of them.
Yeah, they all did.
So, we liked each one of them enough to buy them, and they were all brand new. They all stayed, and they have all stayed still. And therefore, there was no out.
Nope.
So, our surprise of this one, though, our biggest surprise of this one was actually Bad Company. Mm-hmm. Bad Company is one that, ironically, we talked about on a podcast. Okay, so we recorded our podcast for that episode, or that week.
This was when Mark and Jess was still with us.
Yes, when Mark and Jess were still with us. We recorded our podcast in a hotel, I think Kansas City or somewhere in that
we were in Albuquerque,
vicinity.
New Mexico.
We were in
Mark
Albuquerque?
and Jess was still home here in
yes.
Indy, and we were in a hotel in Albuquerque.
Albuquerque. Okay, I couldn't remember where we were.
Yeah.
So, Jess talked about the game Bad Company on that episode. And then we get to Dice Tower West, and lo and behold, it's in the Hot Games room.
Yes.
So we had to play it. We ended up buying it. Nobody had it there at the convention. We ended up buying it in a store just north of Phoenix when we were heading back to Phoenix to spend some time with my mom before heading back home. So this was our big surprise. This is a dice chucking. You roll 4 dice. You make sets, kind of like Can't Stop. You're making sets out of your dice in order to activate your people. Actually, this one is most compared to Space Base, which we had not played at the time and have since bought.
It has a little bit of the Makikoro.
It has a little bit of the whole Makikoro thing. Space Base, you're active. The Makikoro comes into the fact you're activating the cards that the numbers activate, that the numbers portray. The Space Base where you're rolling 4 and making sets and activating those cards.
And adding to each number a different thing
that happen. So
that's where the Space Base comes in
right.
on this one.
So it was an interesting game. We really enjoyed it. The theme is hysterical.
Yeah.
You're playing cat burglars trying to escape the police. Now, mind you, if the police overtake you, it doesn't do anything. You just don't get bonuses anymore. So, but you're trying to be the first one to get to the safe zone and end the game while trying to do heists and stuff to get the points.
Yep.
It was just a fun, carefree theme. Our disappointment for this one, we actually had 2.
Well, you had one and I had one.
Right. We each had different ones.
And we both disagree heavily with the other person's.
Yes. Do you want to go first?
Mine was Escape Plan.
Yeah.
It's a Vitalis Lacerda game, and I love Vitalis Lacerda games. This one I just did not like, and I think the main thing, 2 things I did not really like. That freaking lady.
You mean Sandra?
Yes, I couldn't remember her name because I'm blocking her out. And the way the game ends. That if you don't get out the same time as everybody else gets out, you're going to lose a bunch of the money you fought the entire game to get. And I couldn't even get to my money.
The first person out gets out for free because they don't have to bribe anybody.
Right.
After that, each successive player has to bribe the police to get out of the city.
Right.
So you lose a little bit of your money.
So you have to have the money.
Yes.
And I barely found any of the money that I had hid before I went to prison. So I barely had any money when I was almost in the negatives at the end of the game because of money, because I had to pay to get out.
Yeah. We need to try this at a higher player count.
Yeah.
We played it at 2-player, and that's where Sandra comes in.
We'll get Justin to play. He loves Lacerda.
He does love Lacerda games, so he might very well like this one. So, yeah, we need to play this one at a higher player count than 2. Absolutely.
So that was Escape Plan.
Yes. And my disappointment was 11. 11 is, the tagline is the Football Manager board game. It is based on the game of soccer. Now, soccer has always been a very big thing in our house. Our oldest son played for many, many years, all the way through high school. Our younger son played on rec leagues. He never pursued it beyond the rec leagues, though.
No.
Justin played all the way through high school. He wanted to go pro, but he just ended up going another route with his professional career. But he still plays recreationally.
Yes.
He plays on an adult league now. He coaches Little League.
He actually got his wife into playing
He
now,
did.
too.
He did. And he's got you back out there helping coach. And
I'm not coaching.
Not
I'm sitting
anymore.
on the sidelines.
Well, you were. For a while, you were helping coach.
As I do air quotes, keeping my mouth shut.
Anyway, soccer plays a big part of our lives and has for many, many years. I liked the first half of this game where you are setting up your team and you are setting up everything else and figuring out your stadium. And I was okay with that part.
You like the office work management spot, which is what you do. I mean, you're great at doing that.
And then you get into the gameplay, and there's where I was lost.
The gameplay is kind of generic if you don't understand what the scouting card is that you get at the beginning of the round. And
Which
it'll tell
makes no sense.
Why?
Why
does
the
that not
scouting
make
card
sense?
made no sense.
The scouting card is telling you this team you're going to play is really tough on defense.
Okay, what does that mean?
So
what am I supposed to do to combat that?
During the week, you need to get players that are great on offense, that are powerful on offense to get so their numbers, because you're going by the number of what's on the player, their strengths. And if the strength is higher than the other one, then that if the offense is higher than the defense on that spot, it's going to get through. It's going to score a goal.
To a layman, it made no sense.
Exactly.
I am assuming if you know football or soccer, then this would make her perfect sense. It made no sense to somebody who did not know the ins and outs of how to coach a team.
Yeah, and I've coached many soccer teams, so.
On top of that, it was beyond fiddly when it came to the whole season ranks. The ranking. You were constantly moving people. This person wanted...
Well, we actually did that wrong because
ridiculously
we had
fiddly.
all the teams up there. In a 2-player game, you were only supposed to have a certain amount of teams up there that you were playing
So you made it
against.
more fiddly than it should have been.
Yes.
Okay,
'cause
I'm
we
still
didn't read
never
that
playing
part
it
of
again. This is one of those games he's going to have to pull his son over here to play because Justin wants to play it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, we talked about this. Well,
I think
no, I guess
Jacob
we
wants to
talked
play it
about
too.
this on one of our playing through our collection one, where you're just going to have to set up a game day with your son. Get both Justin and Jacob over here, Jacob being one of Justin's best friends, and you guys have a game day, and I'll go someplace else. So anyway.
Which means she'll go in the living room and edit videos.
That's right.
Because she won't leave and go do something.
No, I probably won't. You're right. Okay. Anyway, that is our ins and outs. That was a fairly short one because there was only 6 games to talk about. All right, and finally, we're going to go into our deep dive for the week. Now, I stated in the opening that we're going to be deep diving Massive Darkness, and we are to a point. However, let me reiterate, or let me expand on that a little bit, that we're actually going to be talking about Massive Darkness, the first edition. Mostly. For the most part.
And comparing it.
And comparing what we know about Massive Darkness 2. Now, in all, for I want to say clarity, and that's not really the word I'm looking for. For the sake of what is the word I'm looking for?
I have no idea. I can't read your mind.
You can't just see in there and tell me what I'm trying to say. But anyway, for the sake of what is that word? Oh my gosh. Anyway, we've never played Massive Darkness 2. We do not own it. We did not back it. So any comparisons we're going to be doing is based on videos we've watched and other
things that we've heard.
Okay, so let's go there first. So, Massive Darkness 1, the first edition, we backed this, and I'll be honest, we backed this for the minis.
Yes,
we were
did.
really heavy into role playing at the time. The monster minis looked phenomenal. The character minis looked good. We backed this for the minis.
Yes, we did. That was the whole point too.
Yes.
Even when we said we was back, we'll just get everything with the minis.
Yes.
And
so
use
we
the minis.
wanted
We don't need to play
minis.
the game.
We ended up liking the game.
Mm-hmm.
By the time we got the Kickstarter in, we had already tried Zombicide and we enjoyed Zombicide. And this is the same type of system. It just expanded on it a little bit, I think.
Yeah, it changed it a little bit.
It did change it a little bit. But
it
it
was
had
still
this,
the whole
but
open the door up and
yes,
then the room.
It had the
unfolds.
same bones
Yes.
as Zombicide. So the game was familiar when we started it.
Yeah.
All right, so let me go over some basics. So the first edition came out in 2017. It was produced by Simon Global Limited, or I think they go by Come On now.
Come on.
And Guillotine Games. Designed by Raphael, and I am horrible with names, guys. You know this. By Raphael Guten, Jean Baptiste Luen, and Nicholas Raoult,
yeah.
something like that. Art by I want to say Eduardo because of the way it's written, but I don't think that's actually how it's pronounced. There's no O on the end. Edward Guten and Jason Hendricks. Ha! That was easy. Anyway.
English, the rest looks like they're all French.
Exactly. Massive Darkness 2, Hellscape, came out in 2022. And this is what I found interesting. Literally the only thing similar other than Come On and Guillotine Games was the artist of Edward Guten. That's it. The designers are completely different. This one was designed by Alex Oltanu, I don't know, and Marco Portugal. That's another easy one. So completely different designers. Obviously, you can see the bones are the same, but they definitely changed a lot of the mechanics around.
The Hellscape, Massive Darkness 2 Hellscape was streamed down.
It was streamlined down to be
That's
an
the
hour
reason
long
the
versus
playtime
2 hours.
is half of what the original one was.
Okay, so the first edition. And again, we've actually been playing this a lot with a couple of friends lately. We broke this out because they really enjoy the
cooperative
games,
dungeon crawls.
The dungeon crawls. This is a couple we've been playing role-playing now with. We've been doing role-playing games with now for well over 25 years. We've known them since Eric was a year old, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
So, yeah, I think that's when we met most of this group.
And Eric just turned 28.
He just turned 28. So, we've known these guys for a really long time. This game brings about that it gives you that role-playing feel, but on a board game. And I know there's a lot of games out there that say they do that, and we don't play a lot of those big, heavy ones that say that they give you that role-play feel. This is one of the only ones we have that does that for me. So the basic idea with this one, you've got the 9x9 boards. Well, they're a foot squared, 12-inch squared, but each one is divided up into, what's the word I'm looking for?
Zones.
Zones, thank you. Each one is divided up into 9 zones. Some are corridors, some are rooms. In this case, they're all down in a dungeon. So you're going in through different areas of this dungeon, but they're all divided up into square zones. The artwork can show light areas and dark areas. We're in the middle of a campaign right now that's based in lava and crystals.
Yeah.
It's actually been kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So you're rolling dice for combat. You've got a character sheet that gives you different powers as you level up. You get experience, just like you do in Zombicide. You get experience for killing the monsters or for killing the roaming monsters versus the minions. That's a different experience level. So you can spend your experience to increase your skills. Again, just like Zombicide, only this time instead of being on a
slide
track, you actually have a character sheet where you're making decisions and marking them down, and you can carry that character through an entire campaign and keep the same skills and keep some of your equipment.
Yeah.
And your character just continues to build as you get into the harder campaigns.
Zombicide, as you win, it's like, okay, these are the skills you can pick from.
Yes. But every game was different.
Yeah, but in this one, when you get this experience points up, you're like, okay, I'm going to upgrade this one. And then the next time you can go up and you have enough, he's like, okay, I'm going to upgrade that one that I just got to its next level. You don't have to get these other ones. You can just take that one and just take it all the way up as far as you can.
And that increases the level of the dungeon.
Yeah,
because
it makes it
now
harder.
your character has gone up in levels.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I really like the way it does it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the new one took away the character sheets and gave
skill cards and
different. They're not really even character boards. They were made out of cardboard. Each one did something different based on the class.
Yeah, for your class. You got, like, the archers, they got those arrow cards.
Yeah.
That they played the arrow cards to try and get up to 7 arrows.
But everybody else, but you had, like, a placard or something where you could put your cards on, and depending on where you put your card, like this is, I think, on one of the
That's one of the classes.
The classes.
Mm-hmm.
It did different things. It wasn't just the card. It was something on the placard that did something also.
Yeah.
And each one of the characters had a different setup.
Right. I just felt it took a lot more space.
It took a lot more space. The video we were watching, while the guy was super informative, he actually went through it quite. This is from Light Ranger Games. It was a YouTube channel on. He literally went over the differences because he had played both extensively. And he was very pro the second edition. So I'm not faulting him there because he plays solo, and for a solo player that it probably does work better that way.
Mm-hmm.
But everything he kept saying, I kept going, but I like this instead. I like the character sheets.
Yeah.
I don't want to have my own separate deck of cards I have to fiddle through every time.
Yeah, because with character sheets, when we played, we just had the character sheet off to the side. I was like, oh, I have that skill, so it's going to add this to this.
Yeah. I felt like our combat turns were a minute and a half each. And he was going through a combat turn and explaining everything you did. And I swear it took 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I get that he was just explaining it. But at the same time, I thought there was a lot to do just to decide, did I hit the guy?
Right. Yeah, there was so much. And the whole in the shadows, in the base game, in the shadow, if you're in the shadows, you got that power.
Right.
Now, if you're in the showers, you have to roll the shadow dice. Now, if you don't roll the shadow face, you don't get that
don't get the power,
though, but you could get more damage or more shields, which is fine. But the whole in the shadows, in the base game, in the shadow, if you're in the shadows, you got that power. Now, if you're in the showers, you have to roll the shadow dice. Now, if you don't roll the shadow face, you don't get that shadow power, though, but you could get more damage or more shields, which is fine. but I like being able to, I'm in the shadows, so I get to do this with my character.
Right.
And not have to like, okay, I'm in the shower. Oh, I don't get my shadow bonus. Shower
Showers?
bonus.
That's
a whole different game, I think. Anyway, I don't get my shadow bonus because I didn't roll what I needed to roll to get that bonus.
Right.
So I liked the way the shadows worked in the first game.
Right.
Than the second game.
I
also
agree.
liked the battle in the first game, like you were saying.
Yeah.
One, because you don't
It was
have
quick.
all that stuff, and two, when a monster comes out and he gets a treasure, you just put it under the card and then everything lines up.
Yeah.
And if something on the treasure does not line up with something on the monster, well, he doesn't have those dice.
Right.
He only has the dice on what lines up with his card to the treasure
Now,
card. And it made it so easy.
The last episode we did, I swear to God, every one of them was coming out with armor of some sort.
Yeah.
And impossible to hit. But, I mean, it just made it more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, we walked away from that dungeon with a lot of armor.
Yeah.
All right, so some of the differences that we noticed, the experience levels, like on the boards we have, because both games came with player boards, plastic player boards where the cards inset into them. The first edition, you have enough for your player card, your armor, 2 weapons.
And that's it.
And I think that was it. Yeah. And then you had your experience. It had 2 different sets of experience. You had your full-on experience if you're doing a single game, or you had what's called micro experience, where every 5 experience equaled 1 full experience points, and the full experience points is what you used to increase your character.
Yeah.
And they recommended that for campaigns, so you didn't
go
level up
really
quite
fast.
so fast. Right. So you could control the amount of leveling.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're doing, is that micro. So now with Massive Darkness 2, they changed the boards. The micro is gone. You just track your levels on a separate area. So you can tell quickly what level you are.
Yeah, that's on your board.
Yeah.
That you're tracking it by, because it has 1, 2, and 3. And I think beside each one of those, it has
something.
The power you would get with that level. I was trying to find a board.
Oh, okay.
A picture of the board.
It also has more spots for cards. You now have pocket spots, and there's more places to seed your cards into, which is fine. I was okay with that. I like the micro though. You know, I like that micro experience and being able to control how fast. Am I playing just a single game and I want to go up an experience quickly, or are we playing a 10-game scenario and I don't want to increase that fast? I do like that from the original game. While you're still looking for that, I'm going to move on to the next one. In the original game, you can transmute anywhere you want, which thematically really did not make much sense, but okay. Basically what that means is that as you're gaining treasure, because you're finding treasure chests, you're taking treasure off of dead minions, every time you get treasure, if you get 3 treasure cards you don't want, you can turn them in and take a treasure of 1 level higher than the lowest one you turned in. So if I turned in 2 1s and a 2, I could just turn in all 3, pull a level 2 treasure. And the treasures were divided into 5 levels by, how powerful they are. If I turned in 3 3s, then I could turn them in and grab a 4. Now you can't use that weapon till you're a 4th level character, but you could keep it and hold on to it if it was something you were interested in. In Massive Darkness 2, they replaced that ability with what's called a forge, and you precede the board with forge tokens, and you can basically do this anytime you get to a forge location, one of the rooms that has a forge in it. Thematically, okay, fine, it makes more sense. Whatever. That one was not a deal breaker for me. They changed out the door cards, whereas now with the version 1, you had 3. Each door card had 3 spaces on it. For any room you opened up, you just kind of started at 1 and you went down that many spaces away from the door. You pre-filled the dungeon or that room with whatever that card stated, whether it be treasure or monsters. The new one, you precede the dungeon already with traps and monsters. They don't, and you did precede with some traps and stuff. You did precede the board a little bit with 1. But in 2, you're preceding with monsters as well. And the door cards changed up. Some were good, some were bad. but they did change the draw cards up. In the original one, you have event cards that at the end of every round, before you started a new round, then you pulled an event card, and some events were okay. I don't want to say any of them were good, because I don't think any of them were good, but some of them were okay. And then some of them brought out roaming monsters. A lot of them brought out roaming monsters that you could fight. And those were worth good points and harder to kill, and, what you would expect. This time it was replaced with a darkness track. Now, the video we watched did not really go into what that darkness track did. So I'm not 100% sure what it did, but they replaced the event cards altogether with this darkness track. Unfortunately, I don't know much about it.
Yeah, because I don't think he
didn't go into it at all.
The one video we've seen.
Right.
Okay, I did find a picture of the player board.
Okay.
And it looks like it's an inset card, so I guess depending on the class you are,
the class,
you would get it to lay in there. And
okay.
It says level 1 has nothing in it. Level 2, it has the 5 XP beside it, because you start at level 1.
Right.
Level 2, I guess it costs you 5 XP to get there, and it says max, you get a health plus, I'm not sure what the symbol is. It looks like a little diamond ring or something, so maybe it's a treasure or something.
Maybe.
And you're going to get extra stuff, because like level 3 at 10 XP, you're going to get another +1 health, and then one, I think that's the mana starburst that they have that I remember him talking about.
Yeah, that was one of the things they did, is they replaced other things with mana.
That first one that I was talking about, I think, looks like a diamond ring. It is, because it's on this heavy gauntlets armor, so it must be an item.
Okay.
And then there's one with a chalice on this third level that it's probably an artifact, maybe.
Okay.
Or something.
Well, and you said level 2 is 5 points, and level 3 was 10.
Level 2 says 5 XP.
Okay, I wonder
level
if they...
3 is 10 XP. Level 4 is 12 XP, and level 5 is 18 XP.
That's not very much.
No.
I mean, one...
Now, do you have to start back over? Like
I don't know, maybe.
In one, when you spend it, you lose it, and then you got to start back over?
Maybe. I was going to say, because that doesn't say, that's one monster.
Yeah, because the XP board where the pegs are at, because you got one area that goes from 0 to 9, and then the area above it says 10, 20, 30, 40,
right.
50.
So you use the 2 different pegs to count it. I don't know.
Keep track.
Okay, so we talked about the whole mana. The second edition brought in the addition of mana on your cards, whereas the first edition had what we've referred to as BAMs. They're little explosion symbols.
Well, that's what it's called in the book.
Is that was BAMs? Okay, so BAMs and diamonds. And those symbols would show up elsewhere. If you rolled this on the die, then your power got to do this. You got to do something additional. And some weapons would have it on there where if you, like for instance, if you rolled a BAM on your offensive roll, on your attack roll, then you got to add an extra sword to it.
Yeah.
Or you got to add an extra shield to it if you rolled it on your defense roll, that type of thing. Same thing with diamonds. It was just a symbol that would give you extra powers depending on what you were using or carrying.
Yep.
They took those away in the second edition and replaced it with mana symbols. And the mana, you could spend mana to do certain things. Without using that system, I don't know whether it's good. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I did think it was interesting that they just completely changed out that system. This one also has, the second edition also has enemy dice, whereas in the first edition, you use the same dice for everybody. There was 4 color dice. 2 were for defense, 2 were for attack. The sides changed based on the color. The red were more powerful than the yellow, and the green were more powerful than the blue, but they were all from the same, like the red and yellow were attack, the green and blue were defense. You wanted green and red because those were more powerful dice overall. You didn't want the monsters to have those, but you wanted them. And I don't know if they took that differentiation away in the second one. I didn't really get a good look at the dice he was using, but they did give monster dice that had attack scratch and claw symbols that were kind of like the counter. I think those took away the counter attacks. Is you automatically rolled that with your attack, and if you got a attack symbol on one of those dice, you automatically got attacked back. Mm-hmm. Something like that. So, well, let's see. We've already talked about the light and dark zones, so I can skip that in my notes. The only other thing really was the dungeon levels. In the first one, each board or each set of boards was identified with a circular disc that said, you're in dungeon level 1, you're in level 2, you're in level 3. You're progressing further into the dungeon, and things are going to get harder as you do.
Yes, the treasures get better.
Thematically, that made sense to me. The further you get in, the harder it's going to get.
Yes.
So now with the first level, as characters go up in level, so the book may say this dungeon starts on level 1 and progresses to 2, 3, 4. However, if all of your characters start at level 3, if you're playing a campaign and your characters are all now at level 3, then the dungeon starts at 3.
Yes.
And it stays at 3.
It still has a level 1, 2, and 3, but the level 3 is activated.
Right. The level 3 is automatically activated, and every monster that comes out is starting at level 3.
Yes.
Every treasure that comes out is starting at level 3. And it stays at 3 until you hit 4, till you get that far into the dungeon. The new one, I guess the levels are based entirely on the hero. That is the
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it's based on whatever the highest level hero is. So there are some definite differences between the two. I have heard from every reviewer say they like 2 better. Mm. We haven't played 2, so
yeah,
I don't know.
We need to play 2 and find out what. Another thing that I wanted to point out in the dungeon itself that I did not like, I can't remember if you even covered this now.
What's that?
The activation of the rooms.
No, I did not.
In 1, it was just like Zombicide. You
Yes.
opened the door and you spawned the room.
Right.
Now, you knew
With
if
the
there
door
was
cards.
an artifact in there.
Yes.
But yeah, so you pull a door card and it'll tell you what's in each section of that room.
Right.
But in 2, you already know where there's an artifact at, which in 1, you always knew where the artifact's at. But you know where there's monsters at. You know where there's treasure chests at.
They precede everything.
It already presets with tokens.
Yeah.
Now, you don't know what monster it is. But you know, hey, there's monsters in this room. There's no treasure. There's no artifacts. We don't need to go in this room.
Yeah.
So we'll just bypass that room completely.
Yeah,
also,
and I feel like that's almost too easy. I feel like
and 2, though, it starts with a wandering monster.
It starts
on the
with
board.
monsters already out in the hallways.
Right.
Yeah.
Which 1 does not. But
Right.
1, like I said, surprises
You have
you
those
as soon as
event
you
cards.
you have the event cards. It's going to
Yeah.
bring people out, though. But
Yeah.
I do like, though, I think because all the times we've played Zombicide, that I do like opening the door and find out. Because that, to me, is more of a dungeon crawl to explore. Open the door, find out what's there, and
What
be able to
did
say,
we
oh
just
no,
get ourselves into?
what's going on? But I liked that better than already knowing what's in the room.
Right.
That just spoils it for me, I think.
I agree. Yeah, I did not.
Because then you can pick and choose, like going, no, there's 3 monsters in there, so we're not going to go in that room because there's nothing in that room we need.
Right.
Let's go over here because
Yep.
there's treasure chests over
Okay.
here.
So moving on to components. The components, again, I've never had any complaint with our components. Now,
No.
mind you, we do have the plastic tokens.
Yeah, we got the upgrade
But everything else, we got the plastic tokens and we got an extra set of dice.
Yep, and we got columns and treasure
And we did
chests
buy the
and
3D columns and the 3D treasure chests, which are just your basic gray molds.
Yes.
Nothing fancy. The board tiles are fine. I mean, we've had this game for probably 7 or 8 years.
And they
Well,
haven't
since it
warped.
first came out, which was 7 years ago. They're not warping at all. Now,
No.
mind you, we lay ours flat.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. And up until just like the last week, they've been still in the plastic casing, the plastic insert that came in there. I had to take them out to fit other stuff in the box now because I repacked some stuff. But so we'll see what happens.
Now you did it.
I know, right? Maybe I haven't thrown them away yet. Well, yeah, I have actually. They're out in the recycle bin. But anyway, they've never warped. I've never had any problems. The plastic minis all still look great. We've never had any problems with them. Now, the card quality is good. I love the artwork. The artwork is beautiful. Very dark and dank and what you would expect in a dungeon. Looking at the videos and the pictures I've seen of 2, the videos we've watched have said that the boards feel thinner. They don't feel as firm and as thick. They feel flimsier. He didn't talk about card quality. Nobody's talked about whether the cards are better or not. I don't know.
Mm.
But the artwork to me looks
It-
cartoony.
Yeah, it was a
now.
lot more cartoony.
It didn't look as deep and as detailed,
right.
which kind of surprised me,
Mm-hmm.
especially since one of the artists is the same.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I didn't care for the artwork
You just
on the
wanted
boards.
to change it enough so you could tell the difference.
And maybe that's what it was about, is just changing the artwork so you could tell the difference between the two.
And now with
but it just did not look as good.
Yeah, with the original one is it gives you a crossover to go into
Zombicide,
Black Plague, and Green Horde.
Yeah.
And
well, to bring those characters into this, you can bring your Black Plague characters into.
Right. But then there's the upgrade to bring the original into the second one.
But you
need the second one to do it. So basically the first one now just becomes an expansion of the second one.
Right.
But you can't take the second one into the first one. But I do see some of the rules that are in 2 can be kind of manipulated into 1 and used in 1 and make it work.
If you want to do the forge rule instead of transmuting. I could see that forge
rule.
Forge rule. Yeah, I could see that working. You can make that work easy enough.
You can make it work, but I think I like the transmute.
I like the transmute rule
because the forge rule is you can only do basically the transmute only in certain areas that it has the forge sitting,
which thematically is
fine. Yeah,
I could see that working.
You're not truly walking on this dungeon carrying like 5 pieces of armor and 7 weapons and a bunch of jewels.
Right. Yeah. You can only fit so much in your pocket.
Right.
So, all right. So, what was the other thing?
I could see house ruling the transmute one is you can, if you're going to keep this armor, you have to take a transmute action to put it on and drop the other one.
There is a rule for that. It's not transmute. It's adjusting. You actually have to spend a turn doing that.
Yes, I know. I get.
Okay.
There is that though,
okay.
But I'm saying you don't. When you take that other armor off, you're not carrying it with you.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like
you have to transmute it to get rid of it.
Right. You're
leaving it behind.
Yes, you're leaving it sitting on the floor someplace.
Yeah.
For another explorer to come through and find.
That makes sense.
Because I mean, all that treasure we had at the end of every session that we had, we had so much.
Yes.
It's like going, how are we physically actually carrying all this? That's like, do we all have this big bag of holding?
Right. There you go. We've left it sitting there and we've just gathered it up as we walked back out. I don't know.
Yeah.
One other piece of notes I have on here, the treasure.
Mm-hmm.
In 1, it is divided out by levels, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you have some starting equipment. In the second one, it's common and mob. That's it. There is no definition as to how powerful they are,
right?
Anything like that. So again, without looking at them, I don't know, but they wouldn't cross over very well because of the whole mana to the BAM and diamond thing. The symbols are all different. Yeah. So
now looking at this with our role-playing background and my background of playing D&D for a long time before I even met you. If I had to pick, if I'd never played either one of them, I would definitely go for the first one. I mean, I know it sounds biased because that's the one we've always played.
Yes.
But it was the character sheets that drew me to this game.
Right. That's the reason.
Miniatures. The miniatures truly brought us to this game because we just wanted the miniatures. But the character sheets
kept us there.
Yeah. But we got the miniatures for role-playing games. Yes. And then playing it and seeing the sheets, that's what we really liked. It felt like a role-playing game because you were leveling up your character. You're naming most of the characters came with their own names, but I don't like my name.
Little Ned?
Little Ned. And he's the biggest character out there.
He's the biggest character out there, yes.
But I feel that one is more geared towards role players, and a role player person would enjoy that one more than, okay, well, for this character, I got a deck of cards, and then that board there. I'm leveling up. I'm just moving my peg. Okay, I get that. I like being able to spend all that XP.
Let me turn over a couple cards, see how powerful my roll is.
Right. Or I've got this skills. Hang on a second. Let me look through my cards to see what skills I've actually gotten from all my XP. Oh, okay, I've got that. No, I don't have that one. Oh, I have that one. Skill sheet, I can just look down. It's like, oh, yep, I've got that power. This is going to add to this. Yeah. And I understand the other one, it automatically adds it, or it's easier to add, but
we're going to have to bite the bullet and just find it and play it.
Correct.
I know this might be in the retreat in the Dice Tower library. I know Tom Vassell loves it, likes the second one, so I would be curious to play the second one maybe at the retreat this year. But I don't know. I like what 1 does, and maybe it's just because it's familiar to us. But maybe we'll report back on this one after we've had a chance to play the second one.
So we're not going to rate these.
No.
Because it's basically a comparison. But what I wanted to do here is, if you're listening to this on YouTube, go in the comments. Let us know if you've played both of them. If you have, which one you like. If you played either one of them, tell us what you like about the game.
Yeah.
If you're actually listening to this on a podcast platform, you can go to Spotify and leave us a comment. You can go to
or go to the YouTube channel and pull it up and leave a comment there. Yeah.
Yep.
Either way.
You can go to what is that?
iTunes.
Yeah, you can go to iTunes, leave us a comment. You can go join our Facebook group. You can find us on social media someplace and just comment about it.
Yeah.
And just tag us in it.
Yes. Matter of fact, we can start a thing on the Facebook page for everybody who's played it. And say, I just would like to get other people's opinions. Did the video we watch give us accurate information? Was it a good representation of 2? Did we misspeak about anything? Because, again, we've never played it, so I don't know. I just took a bunch of notes while we were watching the video. So, yeah. I mean, I still enjoy it. It's a 7-year-old game, but it sat on the shelf for a long time before we started touching it.
Yeah.
And Doug and Sarah were over. We were playing Sleeping Gods one day, and we were trying to come up with something else to play for the last few hours they were here. And I mean, it's a
we told them about
Massive
Massive Darkness, and Sarah goes, "Ooh, let's play that."
Yeah,
she likes it.
And so it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed these last few sessions.
Yep.
Looking forward to the next one.
So this is going to bring us to the end of episode 61. What's coming to the YouTube channel? So we have episode 49 getting ready to come out of Playing Through Our Collection.
Yep.
Correct?
I just have to go back through the final edits, and it's done.
Okay.
Yep.
We're going to be recording episode 50 today, right after we get done here. That has that. Well, it's no longer a surprise because somebody let the cat out of the bag. But if you didn't hear it and you've been following us, you kind of know what the surprise is. We will be re-recording the apiary playthrough because in editing, Katie found many goofs.
After the third major goof, I said, okay, I'm done.
So we're going to re-record that. So we put out a good product that everything you're learning is correct.
Right.
Also, there's a possibility that we're going to give you a look at our Shelf of Shame or Shelf of Opportunity, or basically our unplayed games. How about that?
There you go.
So that's what's coming to the channel. So in the meantime, if you want to follow us on social media, just keep up with us, see what we're doing, or ask us questions, just follow the link in the show notes. There you'll find links to Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, YouTube, Threads, and our merch shop. Until then, thanks for listening, and we'll see you at the next one.